What Remains of Edith Finch is a game that puts you in the shoes of a young woman returning home and much of her family as they go through key moments of their lives and ultimately their deaths. It's a game that sounds like it falls in the walking simulator genre, and from the opening 5 minutes of gameplay it looks like a walking simulator. But Edith Finch is a hell of a lot more than that. Sure, you walk around Edith's abandoned family home as narration is delivered to you, but that's just the framing of the game. Really, you are simply walking to the next experience you're going to be chucked into as you discover the fate of each family member.
December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary.
Over the course of 3 hours or so gameplay, you will be introduced to a plethora of gameplay experiences. 1 minute playing as an animal, the next flying a kite, the next taking photos, or even working a fishing cannery while simultaneously living out your medieval fantasy. It's a strange, unique game, but it's not a walking simulator. Ever since the game was first revealed as a Sony exclusive, that's how it's been talked about. That's the category it's been put in. But Giant Sparrow and Sony, and then Annapurna, when the publisher switched, never went out of their way to sell the game as a walking simulator. So how do you go about selling a walking simulator that isn't one? Thankfully, we've reached a point where for most gamers, walking simulator is not an insult anymore. These days I like to think walking simulator is just a nice shorthand to describe a certain type of game, more focused on story and less on traditional gaming elements like combat, stats or competition. In this way, Edith Finch does share similarities with the genre. There's no way to ever fail the game, for example. But Edith Finch is a game with over 10 different control schemes. To put it in the words of Ian Dallas, the creative force behind the game, in our case, I guess it does feel a bit strange to describe What Remains of Edith Finch as a walking simulator, because you do so much more in the game than walking, which isn't necessarily true of a lot of games in this genre that are happy to focus entirely on just exploring an environment. A traditional walking simulator would have you explore the environment to uncover the story and fate of characters. Edith Finch does that somewhat, but uncovering a mystery is not the key driver of the game. It's more about experiences for the players and making them feel certain ways. Let me give you a clear example of the marketing that shows this game was not sold as a traditional walking simulator would be. All the characters die at the end of their stories, and this was never hidden in the marketing, but revealed in multiple trailers for the game. It was also explicitly talked about in interviews. A traditional walking simulator wouldn't do that.
But if you know anything about the Finch family, you know the stories have at least one thing in common. Someone always dies at the end.
Giant Sparrow and Annapurna Interactive, the eventual publisher, played a delicate game. They didn't want to outright reject the walking simulator tag. That pigeonholing gave them an audience to go after, but at the same time, some people are turned off by it. Edith Finch could well be something a gamer would enjoy but miss out on just because they think it's something it's not. So in the end, the marketing strategy of the game was actually quite traditional. They got Ian Dallas in front of as many eyes as possible around the launch of the game in one big late push. It's not a huge game, you don't want to reveal too much by starting to talk about it too far in advance and then leaving yourself scraps and rehashes to talk about around launch. Nothing new, nothing interesting. The success of the unfinished one meant people from the traditional gaming media were going to listen, and clever use of Reddit AMAs also brought decent exposure. The question about what the game was it a walking simulator or not, came up frequently in interviews, and Ian Dallas never shied away from tackling it head on. Oddly enough, I think the fact the game's genre is hard to pin down probably pleased Giant Sparrow in a way. The studio says on its website, Giant Sparrow is focused on creating surreal experiences people have never had before. Our dream is to make the world a stranger, more interesting place, and the smaller artsy publisher in Annapurna is a perfect match. It describes itself as a publisher interested in making personal and emotive experiences. What Remains of Edith Finch currently sits on a Metacritic score of 89, on Steam 70,000 people own the game, and on PlayStation it has a completion rate of 84%, which is unusually high. People certainly like the game. To my mind, What Remains of Edith Finch is a game that found success with a fairly traditional marketing strategy and a nuanced approach to the main question asked of it. It really is a game like no other, and in the face of being labelled a walking simulator, to the most sensible and appropriate approach to its marketing, attracting both those that have played and enjoyed walking simulators before and plenty of those that have not. Head to the links in the description to check out the full case study.